How did you find these right people? And then
So
what techniques did you use to make the first connection with them?
great questions. How did I find them? I've been in business for 28 years in the ATM space. I'm also in a number of other masterminds. I'm in the Tony Robbins Platinum Partner Group and then a bunch of other groups that have spun out of that opportunity. So my original intent going into those groups was just to learn more about how to expand my own mind and my own business and grow that way. And then when I got asked to raise capital about a year or so after starting to be in a lot of those groups, I literally just grabbed my cell phone and I started when I was on my first deal and I started texting people, hey,
This is the Real Estate Vibe Show, and I'm your host, Vinki Loomba, a commercial real estate investor. And today I have a very special guest with me, my good friend, Michael Guthrie. Welcome to the Real Estate Vibe Show, Michael.
thank you, Vinki. I really appreciate you having me today.
I'm super excited to hear your story today, Michael. So a little bit about Michael. Michael is a seasoned entrepreneur and a co-owner, VP of sales at ATM Solutions Inc., a multi-million-dollar automated teller machine distribution. But that's not it. Mike wears multiple hats as a capital raiser, multifamily investor, syndicator at Pacific Capital LLC. At current, he owns 8,800 doors across multiple markets, providing a passive income stream to his investors. And today we'll discuss capital raising techniques with Michael. So Michael has raised $65 million last year in just 1 year. And I'm like really impressed and wanted to hear that journey. So Michael, if you can take us back to the beginning of your journey in capital raising and share with us what initially drew you to this field and how did you transition into becoming this super capital raiser?
That's a great question because I never intended to actually be a general partner on any of the opportunities we were in or even capital raise on them. When I first learned about investing in multifamily or apartments, my wife and I, Samantha, just wanted to have a place to go park our own money. And as we parked our money and became friends with more and more syndicators that we were putting money into their deals, we finally got asked to come in and raise capital on our very first deal. And I was so nervous, Vinky, you wouldn't even imagine. I mean, we've talked quite a bit and you wouldn't think that I'm the kind of guy that gets nervous, but I got really super nervous on my very first capital raise because I didn't know if anybody would want to invest in anything I'm doing. Who am I? You know what I mean? I mean, am I enough? And you ask the same questions. Am I good enough? And what I'm doing good enough? So I got asked. We pursued that road, we went down that road, our first deal. I was on it with a couple of ladies, and one of the ladies said she can't raise very much, but she was going to put in a good little chunk of money, and the other lady said she could raise about $1 million, which left us about $5.5 million short of our closing estimate. And so all that weight landed right here on these two shoulders, and I was so nervous, but I knew if I just reached out to enough people in enough different ways that hopefully I would find some success there. And the interesting thing is I found success so quickly and so rapidly. It just started opening so many different doors to raise capital and so many different opportunities.
So you said a couple of good things. You said reach out to a lot of people, right? You say you're going to reach out to as many people as many you can, and it will work out for you. So how did that go? How did you find these right people? And then
So
what techniques did you use to make the first connection with them?
great questions. How did I find them? I've been in business for 28 years in the ATM space. I'm also in a number of other masterminds. I'm in the Tony Robbins Platinum Partner Group and then a bunch of other groups that have spun out of that opportunity. So my original intent going into those groups was just to learn more about how to expand my own mind and my own business and grow that way. And then when I got asked to raise capital about a year or so after starting to be in a lot of those groups, I literally just grabbed my cell phone and I started on my first deal and I started texting people, hey, I know we've been talking about, I'm investing in multifamily apartment buildings, and people are like this, and they had told me that they might be interested down the road. So on my first raising opportunity, I literally just grabbed my phone and put together a little text string and said, hey, I've been asked to raise some money on this opportunity. I'm putting in this amount of money of my own on this deal. If this is something you're interested in, put your email down below. I'll add you to my email list. And also please include how much you think you may want to put in. I go, the minimum investment for this opportunity is $50,000, and you can go up to as high as you want. I go, but please just let me know what your intentions are, and let's see if we can put together an opportunity. Literally did that A through G in one morning. It just out of the people in my phone book, and I had over $6.5 million of soft committed money on my very first deal. And that's when I knew I've been running around with the right people, or people really trust the business side of what me and my wife have done for so long that they were like, anything that we touch, they want to be part of. So that's how we got started on our very first raise.
I think that was pretty impressive, Michael. 6.5 million just by texting people in your phone. And a lot of people, we don't even know the power of all the connections that in our phone, just using all the CRM databases, all this networking outside, to start with the in-house first. I think that was very awesome. But let me ask you that. Let's go even deeper, Let's start from your journey, like from the very beginning. How did you get started into this thing? Because you had the ATM business, your own, right? With your wife.
Sure.
That you guys
Yep.
were running. Were you syndicating that as well?
No, we did not do any. We had no investors in our ATM business. It was homegrown, and I used to go out and knock on doors, literally. My first ATM sale was in Concord, California, just not too far from where you're at, because I was living in Pleasant Hill. And I used to drive the streets, knock on doors, in every convenience store I could get an audience. I was trying to sell them an ATM machine. So sales isn't anything new to me, but asking people to actually put money into an opportunity is completely different. So we would sell the ATM machines door to door, and every year I'd try and sell more and more and more, because every time I got an ATM machine in the ground, I knew it was going to make our company X amount of dollars. So that's how I got started in the sales side. And then on the multifamily, our tax bill was so high, and we had been talking about it around a number of the mastermind groups that we had joined over the last 6 years. And they're like, you should think about investing in multifamily. There's great tax benefits. This could really help you guys. So we immediately reached out to our CPA, had a discussion. He said, one of you needs to be a real estate professional. So we immediately at that point in time took me off of payroll from the ATM company, increased my wife's salary, and then I became the ATM or the real estate professional. So anything that we invested in, 100% of those K1 losses offset my wife's active income. And that's how we actually got started.
So how did your passive losses got against your wife's active income?
Because I'm a real estate professional.
Because you are professional. That's what I wanted to say. So you were putting 740 hours. So basically you were able to write up any and all losses that you were getting through the K1s.
That is absolutely correct. The real estate professional status is a tough one to get, but once you get it and you maintain it by putting in the number of hours and continuing to invest in properties and raising capital for properties, it's a great status to have. And it's a huge benefit when it comes time for paying the federal income tax.
So interesting. So from your sales work that you did with your ATM, when you're knocking door to door and trying to get those ATM machines set up, so you build a lot of connections with a small business, right, by doing that. So, and then you also mentioned you were part of the Tony Robbins group, and also you were part of multiple groups. How did you do that? Because that's a technique to get into those groups and building the relationship with the people in that particular group. And then on top of that, you set up your credibility and the trust relationship, because with the mere one text message, you were able to raise 6.5 million. So share with us that story.
Well, I think wherever you go, no matter where you're at, people are
Mhm.
always watching you, and they're going to ask you who you are, what you've done, and the things that you've accomplished over the time in your life. And once you're into those kind of groups, it really becomes interesting how you can actually you all start to come together, because everybody does business a little differently, but in the end, it's actually very, very similarly. And as you get to know people in those realms, the high net worth business owners, we all do the same things similarly. We're all trying to figure out, how do we pay less in taxes? How do we increase revenue? What expenses do you think we can actually cut? And so sharing information with people without an expectation of a investment or reciprocation. It's always better to give information than to always be the one asking for some. So I think by giving information and sharing in those groups actually built more credibility between me and them, or my wife and I, and others, which allowed us to actually create the confidence that they believed in what we were doing enough to invest alongside us in most of these opportunities. And that's what's given us, I think that's given us the edge on raising capital.
Yeah, I like that. It's very important to build trust and credibility. And there's no other way better than sharing your experiences, what worked for you. And then also sharing the common pain points, and then see, oh, I mitigate this gap here. Maybe that will work for you. That's the best way to build that relationship. You've been doing that. So from your experience, share with me something that really worked for you, one technique that you can share with my audience, beside just sharing your experience, but one thing that totally resonated with you. Okay, this is kind of my I would say to go to technique. Like every time when I'm trying to build new relationship, I'm going to start from here.
That's a great question, and it's follow-up. So say you go to like we were just at a mastermind a week ago together, where we ran into each other, and you collect a lot of business cards. Like, you can't really see the one in my hand because of the backdrop, but we collect business cards. I take notes on those based on our conversation. I pass that off to my assistant to enter that into my CRM. So the next time, in 2-3 weeks, when I follow up with you, or a month when I follow up with you, or 6 months down the road when I follow up with you, I have personal information written down, and I share that back. That way people know I was listening and paying attention to what they were saying. Because nobody wants to, like, if you and I met like 5 or 6 times, and I came up to you the 6th time and I go, what was your name again? You're from Tennessee? And you're like, no, I'm from California, Antioch. Remember, you're from Walnut Creek. But if I remember those little intricacies, or we shared something about family or friends, and we have friends in common, like Ruben, and the more connection points you can connect yourself to the other person for relationship, the more they're going to think you actually care, or they'll know you actually care about what they were saying and sharing when we're communicating. So it's always important to remember the conversations you've had. And the best way to do that for me, especially at my age, is write it down, get it into my CRM. So that when I go to make those phone calls, and I try to call 5 to 10 people a month, or actually I send a video text 5 to 10 people a month, or a week, excuse me, to people in my database, just to stay in touch, so that we can, you want to continue the communications, but you don't want to overload emails with too many spam emails, if you will. We all get too many emails. And so when an important one really comes, you want it to be opened and read. And so many people they rely on email communications as opposed to personal communications. And personal doesn't mean you have to get on a phone and make a phone call, but maybe send a video text and say, hey, Vinki, I remember running into you in Phoenix last week. What a great time. Me and Ruben got to catch up a little bit. And what an amazing opportunity. If there's anything I can do to help you, and if you want to talk about the property you invested in with me a month ago, just let me know and I'll jump on a call with you. And I just send that. And you listen to it and see me in the video, and you go, he really cares. He actually listened to what we talked about. He remembered things about what we were discussing. And then all of a sudden we become closer and closer friends. And then down the road, you're going to go, when Mike has an opportunity, I'm actually going to open the email and read it. And that might be something I want to invest in.
Yeah, that's so right. I like that because that's the best way to connect with people. Because when you personalize it, or when you just to remember your last conversation, because everybody wants to feel important. People all of a sudden feel important, and when you tell somebody, "Hey, I don't remember you. Remind me where we met last time, or remind me of your name or where you live." Those are kind of all the negative things, that pushes people off because they don't want to hear that. But instead, if you meet with somebody again or seeing them for the second time, and you call the last conversation and then just remind them of the good times or what we spoke about last time, this gives them feel more important, and that I guess your relationship more stronger. I like that. I use that strategy too all the time. And then I love this video clips that you're doing, which awesome. I think that's like more personalization there for you, and also your personal branding as well, right? So
Yes.
let's talk about that. Since you're doing that, how did you come up with this idea, or how you're trying to brand yourself personally? Because brand has to be you, not just a tagline for your business name, or not all about your business. By doing this, something unique, something different, you're creating your personal branding. So how did you come up with that idea, or how is that work? You're obviously good, right? That's what you mentioned.
So, how did I come up with are you asking how I came up with
The
wanting
video
to video
text,
text?
yeah.
So, I was in another mastermind, and Jesse Itzler was speaking, and he was saying he just reaches out and sends a text to 5 people a week that are on his list to just say, "Hey, how are you doing? I was just thinking about you." And he just hit send. And I figured I'm going to make it just a little bit more personal, and I'm going to add the video, because I typing with my thumbs, I'm not the best typer, if you will. And my wife always tells me I have typos, and I'm trying to avoid that. So if I can just send you a video, there's no text that I have to worry about misspelling or anything of that nature, but I can just send you a nice little video, and you see me talking to you, and that makes it so much more personal. It's almost like I'm there. Like I was watching a Netflix video on 3 different quarterbacks in the NFL. And yesterday at a store, I seen one of the quarterbacks' jersey. I'm like, oh my God. I felt like I actually knew the guy, because after 3 or 4 episodes of him branding himself and talking in and showing from his home and his workouts and the way he eats and all these other things, it actually made it feel like you know them personally. So when you reach out to somebody personally with a video text, I think they're going to see your face, your voice, and hear you completely differently. Instead of just sending an email or a regular text message to somebody, they're actually going to feel your feelings and your genuineness and transparency towards them when you're talking to them, and it's just going to create more and more trust.
I know people are finding different ways, right, to connect with people or build this stronger relationship. So over the years, from your experience, how has the landscape of the capital raising evolved, especially for the last couple of years, I would say 3-4 years since the pandemic, and what emerging trends you've been seeing or seeing shaping this field, any or at all?
Well, there was a time when people just put money into any opportunity because everything was going up and to the right. And today it's becoming more trust of the person that's doing the deal. And I think people are actually reading more and more of the slide decks on the opportunities to say, hey, where are the risks? Where is going on with these opportunities? Can we make money in this time? And one of the things that I like to say is, when everybody's running away from an asset, like some institutions are right now sitting on the sidelines, that's what the time to be running into the assets. And Warren Buffett says, always invest consistently in good times and in bad times, because when the good times come and you've been investing in the bad times, you're going to actually win a lot bigger, because you were consistent with your investments and your messaging and your opportunities. You don't want to ever be sitting on the sidelines waiting to do another opportunity, because a lot of times, if you're not staying in touch with your investors during the interim between opportunities, and you just reach out to them when you have an opportunity in hand, they start to feel like this is a transaction, not a relationship. And I like to be a lot more relational in my doing of transactions. Yes, we're doing transactions, but I want it to be more personal so that it feels more like a relationship, not just a, hey, thanks for having a checkbook for me. That's not the way I like to operate.
Mm-hmm. And I recall earlier you said, in the beginning of the conversation, like you had some imposter syndrome as well. You dealt with that too. You're thinking, who am I? How are people going to invest with me? And a lot of people go through that. So from your perspective, what are some of the challenges or the misconceptions individuals usually have when they are trying to raise capital or bringing the deals to the investors? Because a lot of people, like you mentioned, there shouldn't be a pause. There should be continuous communication. And a lot of times, because for the syndicators too, actually is true, kind of, they wear so many hats and they are not sometimes up 100% on just reaching out all the time or making those strong personal connections that you've been talking about. So if you can shed some light on that, all the challenges and misconceptions or this imposter syndrome that people have, how do you get over it?
So one of the main things is continual communication. And my number one rule in capital raising is to never say no for somebody else, because we don't know how much money they actually have or who that person might know that might be looking for this opportunity. I was literally at another mastermind this past weekend where my wife and I got a chance to speak in front of these folks, and a lady comes up, she goes, I think it's time to trash my whole database of 1,400 people. And I go, now, why would you do that? She goes, they only make about $150,000 to $200,000 a year. They're not really the type to invest. And I asked, my first question was, what's the average age of these people in your database? And she's like 45. And I go, if they're making $150,000 to $200,000 a year, and they've probably been doing that for a number of years, they've probably been putting money into their 401k. So how much money is sitting over here in a 401k making 2 or 3%? And you could give them an opportunity where they could actually turn it into a 20% return. And she's like, it was just like magic. It had hit her, like she had no idea she could be sitting on a gold mine. And I go, and here's some YouTube videos you should go check out why investing in alternative investments is better than operating a 401k with the business that you keep putting money into. And she's like, there's videos out there about this? And I go, absolutely. I go, the internet is an amazing source of information. But the thing is so many times we feel like the person we're sitting across from can't put money into our opportunity. And so we just say no for them. And I think that was a great example that it hit me right in the head this weekend with this lady. Is she's got a huge opportunity. She's just not speaking to them in a way that makes sense to them. She's speaking to them in the way she wants to be spoken to, as opposed to the way the investor needs to hear it.
Yeah, I like that. That's said it really right. But the other thing is, everybody has their own processing power. So everybody process things or understand things from their past experiences, whatever experience they have, accordingly their understanding is. So not everybody can have the holistic view, but you said it very well that, the person right in front of you might not be the ideal investor for you, but you do not know who else in their network or how big the network is, who else in that particular network could be looking for the opportunity that you have. So you don't want it to give up on any connection, whatever connection is coming your way, you want it to nurture that. That's really good. And then we talk about that, how communication is the key to it, opens a lot of doors for us. And, it's just like, that's the first way that you can put yourself out. So start seeing from others' perspective, what they are looking for. And accordingly, you just pitch them or just share your story. Basically, I don't believe in pitching or anything, because we are not in a selling business. We are more like in the relationship building business, like you mentioned earlier, And now we're in the digital age, and all these cool tools, technical tools are out there to make these connections even sharper and maybe at a faster pace. So are you using any of these technologies out there or any kind of CRM systems that you can share with us, what worked, what didn't work, and what is the best possible way to use or leverage this technology to create a competitive edge for yourself?
So there's so many tools. There's ChatGPT, there's HubSpot, there's High Level. There's so many different places to go to get your message out there. I personally am using High Level because it connects to all my social. It also connects to texting. It also connects to dropping voicemails into somebody's voicemail without actually picking up the phone. I can record one voicemail and I can send it out to 6,000 people that fast. And it doesn't even ring their phone. But when the next time they pick it up, they go, oh, I got a voicemail from Mike. And boom, I'm right there in their phone and I didn't have to pick up the phone once. And for me, the more you can be out there on your social, sharing information, adding value to others, the more people will see you, the more they're going to think they actually know you. Like literally, we're going to this ATM conference, one hotel away, this afternoon, and I've been advertising in that group for the last 4 years about multifamily. And when we came to this event last year, walking through the room, people are like, I know you. I'm like, oh yeah, what, from where? And they go, oh, you're the real estate guy that does ATMs. So it's all of a sudden, you don't know that people are watching, but they actually are watching what we're doing and actually listening to what we're doing. And they actually are interested in what we're doing. And the more you more touch points, literally, Neil Bawa spoke at this conference I was at last weekend. And he said, on average, you need 17 to 27 touch points with any individual before that trust is created, if you've never met, for them to actually start investing in what you're doing. So the more we can be out there in front of people without it being spammy, salesy, needy, greedy, whatever it is, and we're just putting ourselves out there and adding more value, the more people are going to want to really come into our network and invest in what it is we're doing.
Yeah, you said it very well. That's so right. So we are out of time now. I know we can keep on talking. I love talking to you anyways, but I wanted to ask you one more question.
For sure.
Final golden nugget from my audience, from all your experiences that you had over the years, and then $65 million that you raised just in 1 year. Regarding that, one golden nugget to my audience.
You have to know what they need. Otherwise, you can't fill the need. So have conversations with your investors regularly so that you can understand what it is they're looking for. And then our job is to go find it. So understand the main point of it is understanding what that investor needs or what they want. Same.
That's good. I like that. Thank you so much. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer in 1 word or 1 sentence only. Are you ready?
I am going to do my best.
Okay. I think you answered this question, or I asked you maybe a couple times before, but I'm going to ask you again as part of my rapid fire. What is one thing that you have learned in your life that it changed your life after learning it?
You have to get started. You will be so much further ahead of your competitors once you get started.
I like that. So share one good book that you have read and like to recommend to my audience.
Flip the Script by Oren Klaff. And what it teaches you in this self-help book in the capital raising space is bring your idea to somebody so well that they're trying to convince you they should be a part of your opportunity.
In 1 word, what does life mean to you?
Abundance.
Good one. What is your biggest passion?
What is my biggest
passion?
My family.
If you could turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself and why?
I would have told myself to go bigger, faster, because we only get better by making mistakes quicker. Every successful person, what's funny is I've seen this just the other day. Every millionaire, there's 2 L's in millionaire. So you've to become a millionaire, you've had a minimum of 2 losses along the way, and that's what those L's stand for.
Wow, I never heard that. That's pretty awesome. So, Michael, how can people reach out to you?
So very simply, it's Michael at Pacific Capital LLC.com. That's Michael at Pacific Capital LLC.com, or you can text me on my cell phone at 509-270-6701 and say, hey, I heard you on Vinki's podcast, and I'd like to reach out and learn a little bit more from you and what you're doing, and I'm here to be available for you.
Thanks, Michael. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
You bet. Thank you, Vinki.